The earliest recruits to the Emperor's Children, then known as the Third Legion, were recruits gathered from Europa during the Unification Wars. Noble houses, such as House Loculus of Camargue, selected the finest of their youth and gave them to the Emperor following their defeat by his Thunder Warriors as tribute for their previous defiance. Following the houses of Europa, other noble Terran dynasties also sent their children to fight in the Third Legion. This was rumored to be the source of the Legion's adopted name, the Emperor's Children, a name that was reaffirmed later following Fulgrim's rediscovery. One distinction with the early days of the Emperor's Children was that they willingly cooperated with and even led the young Imperial army into battle during the Unification Wars, something other legions saw as disdainful. Leading lesser troops seemed natural for the aristocrats of the Legion, perfectionists. Even before having been reunified with their Primarch, the Third Legion became known to efficiently execute and exceed the Emperor's own expectations. During the Great Crusade, the Emperor's Children were frequently given diplomatic and emissary protection missions by the Emperor and were known by some as his heralds, the Marines painting their armor imperial purple to signify their mission, emblazoned with a thunderbolt and rayed sun. The right to bear the Emperor's personal standard, the Aquila, was granted after the Proximan betrayal, when the 16th cohort were all killed, defending the Emperor, wounded by a vortex weapon, during a surprise insurrectionist attack at the ceremonial plaza during the Imperial compliance ceremonies. Despite this status, the Legion was struck with disaster within a year of Proxima, following the pacification of the Selena gene cults of Luna and the Martian Compact, when a substantial portion of gene seed reserve was lost during its transit to Luna. In truth, this stock was stolen by Trazyn the Infinite Dot. It was then found that a Selenite plot had corrupted gene seed stock held on Terra with what was known as the Blight, causing organ degeneration that then spread more widely in the Legion. Rapid deployment of reserves, purging the infected, and the establishment of methods such as salvaging progenoid glands from its dead warriors helped to reverse the decline, but the Legion never recovered from this incident, and thus were always among the smallest of the Legio Astartes. While other legions such as the Ultramarines, Imperial Fists, and Lunar Wolves all exceeded the 100,000 mark, the Third Legion numbered only in the hundreds. Following the rediscovery of Fulgrim on Chemos, he was placed at the head of his legion. Fulgrim addressed the mere 200 Marines upon their first meeting, stating that they would go out into the galaxy and spread the wisdom of the Emperor. "We are his children," the Book of Primarchs relates. He told them, "Let all who look upon us know this. Only by imperfection can we fail him. We will not fail." Following this address, the Emperor named the Third Legion the Emperor's Children. As they were so few in number, the Emperor's Children were placed under the command of the Primarch Horus of the Lunar Wolves, and they would fight together for almost a century until Horus' promotion to War Master following the Elena Crusade. Horus and Fulgrim grew close to one another, with eventual dire consequences for the Imperium. Swollen by new recruits drawn from Chemos and Terra, the Emperor's Children finally mustered the strength to undertake a crusade alone, and Fulgrim proudly led his warriors into the unknown at the head of the 28th Expedition Fleet. To many worlds, he brought the rule of the Emperor, crushing any resistance in the certain knowledge that any who fought against the Emperor fought against humanity itself. This wish to achieve perfection met its martial zenith during their first major campaign since parting with the sons of Horus, the cleansing of Laren, where the Emperor's Children met an alien foe that offensively echoed their ideals. The Lahr were judged so formidable by the Adeptus Administratum that it was feared any attempt to subjugate them would take over a decade. The Emperor's Children scoured them from their home system in a month. This titanic effort was a notable feat of arms, perhaps achievable only by Fulgrim's legion. However, it cost them dear. 700 Marines perished, with over 4,200 being injured. Shortly after the campaign, the Emperor's Children fought alongside their closest brethren, the Iron Hands, against the Diasporex. When the events that led to the Horus Heresy erupted, Fulgrim rushed to the War Master's side, attempting to reason with his old friend. Instead, Horus seduced him, playing upon his love of flawlessness to weaken Fulgrim's loyalty to the Emperor. Although Fulgrim initially resisted and wanted to speak out against Horus, the weapon he had taken from the Lahr temple actually contained a demon of Slaanesh. This demon had been whispering to Fulgrim since he picked it up, and weakened his resolve to the point where Horus was able to sway him. The rot spread from Fulgrim to his Lord Commanders, then to company and squad leaders, and finally all but a bare handful of Marines followed Slaanesh rather than the Emperor. The remaining loyalists, led by Saul Tarvitz, the captain of the Emperor's children, fought bravely on Istvan III, but were eventually overwhelmed as Horus and the three Primarchs who had already declared for him wiped out those forces they believed would remain loyal to the Emperor. The Legion then gleefully proceeded to aid in the destruction of the arriving Loyalist legions. After the fighting on Istvan III, Fulgrim entered the Heresy proper with approximately 50,000 Marines. They fought alongside the traitors in the Dropsite massacre. The Emperor's children saw heavy fighting with the Iron Hands, and Fulgrim slew their Primarch, Ferrus Manus, but some of the Emperor's children loyal to the Emperor remained, with at least one warband of them forming the Death Eagles. Sometime after Istvan V, the perfect fortress erected by Fulgrim in a strategic key system was taken by the Raven Guard by luring the self-reliant Emperor's children out. The whole Emperor's children garrison was destroyed. Later, the Legion accompanied Fulgrim along with Perturabo and the Iron Warriors to the Crone world of Adidris, where Fulgrim would achieve demonhood. After the events on Adidris, the Emperor's children devolved into disparate warbands, while most accompanied Fulgrim as he rendezvoused with Horus or undertook his own adventures in the warp. Several warband leaders arose who undertook their own sadistic raids into Imperial territory. A third of the Legion remained under the control of the Eidolon, which attempted to destroy the White Scars both at the Kalium Gate and the Catalyst Rift. After Horus ordered a muster for all traitor forces to converge on Elena in preparation for the final drive on Terra, Fulgrim was still nowhere to be found and the Emperor's children still leaderless. However, Lorga was able to find the Primarch inside the Palace of Slaanesh and used Zardalaic to bind him to his will with his true name. Now forced to rejoin the war, Fulgrim let out a cry that rippled across the warp, all across the galaxy. The various Emperor's children's warbands heard the cry of their Primarch and rushed back to his side. Due to the blessing of the gods, warp trips that should have taken weeks took only hours, and soon the Emperor's children were whole once more under the leadership of Fulgrim. Fulgrim was eventually freed by Lyac, and the Emperor's children pledged themselves to Horus for the assault on Terra. All trace of decency amongst the Emperor's children had vanished by the time they partook in the siege of Terra. While other traitor legions assaulted the Imperial Palace, the Emperor's children embarked upon a spree of terror and gratification amongst the helpless citizenry of Terra. Millions of defenseless civilians were slaughtered and rendered down to create endless varieties of drugs and stimulants, countless thousands more dying to provide the legionnaires with more direct and cruder pleasure. Though they could rarely be controlled, Abaddon managed to have Eidolon convince Fulgrim to have the whole of the 3rd Legion, over 100,000 legionaries, take part in the assault on the Saturnine Gate. The assault failed due to preparations by Rogel Dawn, but during the attack Fulgrim and Dawn came to blows. As the Emperor's children assailed Terra, their homeworld of Chemos would meet its end at the hands of vengeful Imperial forces. Emperor's children forces fleeing Chemo's destruction later took up residence in the Pale Stars near Nocturne, forcing the Salamanders to respond.